Hello, friends. Hello. It is Monday. It is a pretty day here in Austin. I want to tell you guys how excited I am to go live. It always is like the highlight of my day. What is interesting about today is I invited people from Jumprope to join the broadcast, to join the live. So I have Jake, who's the CEO, and Jesse, who interfaces between the creators and kind of the technology. So, and by the way, if you are here, you've got questions, put them in the comments section and hopefully we will get to them. So let me bring them on. Here is Jesse and Jake. Hi guys, welcome.
Hello.
So Thank you for having us.
Absolutely. Where are you guys?
So I'm in New York City right now.
And I'm in Miami Beach, Florida right now.
Nice, very nice. Okay, so I've gotten really good feedback on the podcast episode I did with you, Jake. And what's interesting is I have posted in my Facebook group about Jumprope, like, hey, do people know about it? And we've gotten so much great feedback that people are using your app and they're using it in a variety of different ways, it looks like. But why not? And by the way, people have joined. Thank you, everybody who has come. So one of you, would you just explain what Clubhouse is and what the benefit is for a blogger or a creator or an online entrepreneur?
You mean Jumprope, not Clubhouse, but I'm happy to.
Sorry,
it's all good. We can explain Clubhouse as well, so that's we can do that as well. I'm happy to take that one. I'm happy to take that one to start. So Jumprope is a place where sort of anyone can go to learn how to do anything, and so whether that be learn a recipe, learn a craft project, learn a parenting hack, a beauty tutorial, etc. And we do that by empowering amazing creators, sort of wherever they are. To share their knowledge in kind of a step-by-step format. That content lives in the Jumprope app and lives on web, etc. And we enable creators to share that content to sort of whatever social media platforms or even their blog or website that they want to be on. And so I think we do several, just to step back, we do several things kind of for creators. One is we help them sort of reach a new audience in a new format, sort of on the Jumprope app. Most of those creators were not creating a substantial amount of video content before joining Jumprope, right? So we've made it really easy to get into creating video. And we're probably the only place that lets you kind of create once and share to Pinterest, Instagram, YouTube, Facebook, your blog, etc., sort of with a click of a couple buttons.
I think that that is true. I think that when I was listening to people's comments, that was how they discovered you. And that was like the early benefit. Yep. Making video is hard and you guys have made it easy. And then you've done all the sizing, you've done all the optimizing. So I can just download it and then I've got it and then share it.
That's exactly right.
Now, when you were creating your product, how did you think about it from the perspective of the creator?
Well, I think we thought about it and we still do this to this day. We first said, I think we started with this insight that viewers were frustrated with the existing formats of kind of linear videos and that they weren't really well set up for learning and doing, that it was sort of frustrating. You didn't know what to buy. It's sort of, you have to stop and start. If you're trying to cook along to something, it may not be paced correctly. So we started with the insight that we needed a new format for people who wanted to learn things. We also realized very quickly, oh wait, most of the creators that are sharing knowledge and passion today aren't actually doing it with video, right? They're taking photos and putting them on Instagram. They're creating like sort of photos for Pinterest. They may be writing on their blog, and that there was a big desire to get into sort of this richer video formats, right? So that was sort of the second insight we had. The third insight was creators said, I'm interested in a new platform, but I want to be able to use this today before you have a giant audience. And so can I share this to Instagram stories? Can I share this to YouTube? Can I share this to Pinterest? And we sort of heard enough of this and quickly realized that even the creators who had some experience mastering video editing were having this problem of, I still have to re-edit manually for all of these different formats. And so we kind of said, again, I think what we do really well as a company is we listen to creators, and we're sort of constant. We did that day one. I hope we're doing a good job of that today. And we listened, and we built something that we thought and we think does address those needs. And I think we remembered or knew that both YouTube and Instagram really started as tools for creators before they were platforms, right? YouTube in the early days was really just a way to get your video online and embed it in your website or blog.
Yes.
Instagram was a way to easily filter and edit a photo and share it to Facebook or Twitter, right? And so we knew about the heritage of these mega platforms today, starting by serving specific needs for creators as tools. And so we're sort of traveling down a very similar path.
I like that because, again, it's very creator forward. Your job, you see yourselves as aiding creators and building a platform, but that you're not putting the cart before the horse.
No, well, we know to build a successful platform, frankly, if you talk to the people at Instagram, talk to people at YouTube about this, they'll tell you the same thing. It has to work for the viewer, right? It has to be great for the audience. It has to be great for the creator. And we need ultimately a model that sort of makes sense and keeps us in business.
Totally. Now, wait, I have a question here. I'm going to show this.
Great.
I don't know. Can you read this? So it says Jumprope cards are the perfect size for loading into Google Web Stories. Is there a way to create a Jumprope without adding text? Google Web Stories wants captions, so I want to use Jumprope to create, but also want to create a Jumprope without text to satisfy Google Web Stories. Is there a way to remove it?
I understand exactly what the question is. We have seen a bunch of creators doing this, and there is what creators are doing is, no, you can't publish on Jumprope without text. But what creators then do is they'll add a text box in Google Web Stories using the WordPress editor and just rewrite the text on top of the text on Jumprope. So that is what some of the people who are exporting to Google Web Stories are doing. There's a bunch of suboptimal things about that, but that is what you can do.
Okay, could we break that down? Because I don't think people quite understand what Google Web Stories is, how Jumprope works with that, and notice people trying to find ways to do different things, probably things you didn't even think about.
We see all the time people doing things with our product that we didn't think about, and that's part of building a platform, is understanding that people are going to use it in interesting and wacky ways, and we learn from that. And a bunch of the things we've built are things where it's like, oh wow, that was really creative. We didn't expect someone to do that. Let's actually help more people do that in some cases. But
I just have to say, when we started Catch My Party, my husband was head of product at MySpace. And I was writing teen comedies, in Hollywood. And all of a sudden, so we built this platform and we're like, okay, it's for teen girls. We understand teens. And moms discovered our platform. And I remember David and I going, oh no, this is the wrong audience. Should we delete all this content? And then we went, wait a second, maybe this is our audience. And it was like one of those early moments, humbling moments, where we didn't see that coming. And now it's like, oh, duh, of course. So I totally understand that concept. So would you break down, what are Google Web Stories? How does Jumprope connect with Google Web Stories and all of that?
Sure. And I will preface this by saying Google Web Stories are confusing. Do not feel bad that you are confused. They are a very confusing concept in the world. I will do my best. I've spent a lot of time with Google on this, so I think I can probably explain it well, but they are confusing. Don't feel bad that you're confused. Okay. So what Google Web Stories are is, think about Google Web Stories as basically little web pages that exist in a series connected to each other. That exist live on the internet, just like any other web page. So if we contrast them, I think it's helpful to contrast them with Snapchat stories, Instagram stories, Facebook stories, Pinterest stories, LinkedIn stories. All of the other stories formats that I'm at least aware of that are on the other social media platforms are really just MP4 videos, right? They're just video files that are uploaded to those platforms and shown in a sequence, but they're just a video file, right? They don't have interactivity to them. They're not written in code. They're a video file.
And you know this when you download them. Like if I download my TikTok, it's a video. I download, you know, anything, it's a video.
Yes. Google Web Stories have video in them, but the whole thing itself is not a video. It's actually, think about it more like a little web page, right? And so
it's like interconnected web pages.
Interconnected little mini web pages that have some constraints on them, right? And so Google has put some constraints on them, and those constraints are made so Google can make sure they're going to load really fast, right? Because a slow loading web page, Google's talked lots about this, is really frustrating, right? So they've added some constraints to them to make them load fast. So what that is kind of what Google Web Stories are, right? And so as a result, because they are web pages, they're a lot more complicated, they're more powerful, and you can make them more interactive, right? The Jumprope ones are shoppable, right? And you can have all these links in them to buy products from them. You can have polls in them. You can sort of do a whole bunch of things with code that you can't do in other things, but it makes it a hell of a lot more complicated for creators to create them, because there's not a simple creation interface like there is with an Instagram stories or a Facebook stories. What Jumprope has done is we've worked really closely with the Google team for now 18 months to build, basically, they came to us and said, we love what you're doing. It is exactly the type of content we want on Google, and it's already sort of conceptually stories. So we want to work with you to build basically the same player and step-by-step format that exists in our app into Google Web Stories. And so we've written a hell of a lot of code with them and troubleshooted a whole bunch of issues so that Jumpropes basically are really, really performant. They're fast, they're simple, and you don't have to think about any other tools to use to create these amazing stories that exist within Google Web Stories and can sort of build you an audience. And so that's shorthand of sort of how we've worked with sort of Google on it.
So if I create a Jumprope and I download it and I upload it to my blog, is Google seeing that as a Google Web Stories?
It depends what you do. Okay. It's sort of uploading to your blog is not a. It depends. Likely, if you naively do it, it will not be a Google Web Story.
Okay.
So downloading, for example, downloading a Jumprope video and uploading it to your blog will not be a Google Web Story, right? The way I know that creators today are using Jumprope for Google Web Stories is they're downloading the MP4 videos that are intended for Instagram stories or Pinterest stories or Facebook stories, and they're uploading them to their blog via the sort of WordPress stories editor. That's what creators are doing today, but it's not nearly you can't get as good of a experience doing that as you'll be able to get if you're just using the Jumprope version, because you're just uploading an MP4 and not and it's sort of not all written in code and responsive.
Got it. But you were saying, so you upload
Jesse, you're trying to jump in, Jesse?
Sorry. I just wanted to say, like Jake said, this is confusing. So we recently published like a Jumprope's guide to Google Web Stories on our blog at blog.jumprope.com. That's super helpful. That kind of shows like, this is what it looks like on Jumprope. This is what it's like if you use WordPress editor. So if people want to visit that too, it's like
send me the link and I'll put it here. Yeah, absolutely. Okay. So wait, so though I'm still confused. If I did upload it to my blog, you said I can upload it as a story? Is that like a blog?
So you can upload so just sort of stepping back, right? So when you publish on Jumprope, one of the formats we give you that you can share around the internet is the stories format, right? Mm-hmm. That stories format in terms of the downloadable version is an MP4 file. So you can take those series of MP4 files and upload them to the Google Stories WordPress editor. And then I think as the question said, you can sort of replace the text in the Google Stories WordPress editor you can cover up the text with additional text. But if you look at those two things side by side, they're gonna look a bit different because the Jumprope one is done in code. the video is sort of streaming off of kind of our servers in a very sort of optimized way. Mm-hmm. Whereas if you're just uploading an MP4 file, it's not going to be as good of a viewer experience. The other thing you can do with the Jumprope, so our player, is you can actually embed that in your blog. So you can basically take the same player experience that plays on Google Stories is embeddable, and you can take a little snippet of code. We have a WordPress plugin. If you're not on WordPress, you can just use the snippet of code, and you can embed that Jumprope experience in your blog.
Okay. So given that you're building out your platform and that, it's growing over time, but I'm a creator and what I care about, as we've talked about, is traffic.
Yep.
Is the value, I know that, and we can talk about this, Google is crawling Jumprope. So my Jumpropes that are on Jumprope could be seen on Google.
Yes, that is correct.
Okay. But wait, I've gotten this. They link back though to Jumprope.
So they don't so much link back to Jumprope, right? I think this is again where it's like it's a confusing concept. Is Google? It's Google. Remember, Google is not a platform like Instagram, right? Google is not hosting content on its servers, right? Google is just indexing content that exists, right? So it's saying, here, I'm crawling Jumprope. I see that there's a really, really great story. It's super performant. We know Jumprope creates great stories. And so we're going to send that. We're going to send traffic to that Jumprope. But again, it's not, it's different than sort of Instagram, where it's not linking and inherently it's linking, because the whole thing is actually just only on Jumprope server.
Right. It found it on Jumprope. So it's serving it up, connected to where it found it.
Yes, I mean, it is just running, again, yes, it is just sending the traffic to that web page, right? Because again, these are web pages. And then from the Jumprope, though, we let creators do several things. One is if you are a seller of anything or have affiliate deals, the Jumpropes are super, super shoppable. And if you haven't used Jumprope in the last sort of week or two, we've launched a ton of new features around making it easier to tag your products and steps, to have a shop on Jumprope. And so we've made the experience much more shoppable. So if you're trying to make sort of affiliate revenue, sell a product, et cetera, we've built some really, really great ways to help you turn that traffic into dollars via that. Second of all, at the end of your Jumprope, you can include a link to learning more about content. And so, for example, we often see this if a travel blogger, for example, post 10 amazing things to do with kids in Austin, Texas. I know you live in Austin. In Austin, Texas, a great Jumprope could have 10 cards. Each one is a different attraction in Austin with a little description of it. But we know that there may be a bunch more information that you've written about on your blog about sort of admission times and nuances of those attractions in Austin. And we're totally great with you linking to your blog for people who need that additional information. What we are not doing, though, because viewers have told us that they don't want this, is if you're posting incomplete content on Jumprope, it's not going to get any traffic on Jumprope, and it's not going to get any traffic on Google, because we've seen
Google come out and said, do not use web stories as teaser content. We don't want that.
And they don't want that for the same reason we don't want that, which is that we both know that the audience doesn't want that. The audience wants to learn how to do something, or learn broadly defined. The audience wants the answer. They want the information. They don't want sort of an advertisement that then makes them go to some other place. But that's not what people want. That's not what people expect in this world where video loads fast and they expect answers instantly.
Right. They don't want clickbait. It feels clickbait.
No. Yep.
It feels like a bait and switch.
It does. Yeah.
So wait, so I know we have you until 2:30. So I want to go through.
I actually can stay a little longer. My meeting that I thought I had got pushed back a little bit. So I can stay longer, but Jesse's also awesome and probably can do a better job answering many of these questions than I can.
Okay. And then, by the way, just at 3 for everybody, I'm doing Jake, we missed this opportunity because when we do our next podcast episode, I'm going to record my podcast episode coming up on Clubhouse at 3. And there's tremendous technology involved, and it's very for all that. But anyway, so let's go to some other questions.
Great.
So here, ready? This is from Clarita. If there's a chance, what category should I explore in Jumprope if I teach graphic design tips for non-designers and want to see what similar content is already on Jumprope?
So I can take this one. I think this is one that's sort of come up in there, Jesse, and sort of questions a bit, is you can post and see content on Jumprope outside of sort of the categories that we list at the top. And the best way to do that would be to search in the app in the search bar and just search for the hashtags, the graphic design hashtag, and you'll be able to find other graphic design content that's been created and tagged with that hashtag. I think we've realized that some people, and I can understand this, feel like, well, if my content doesn't fit exactly in one of these categories, it's not welcomed on Jumprope. That's not our intention. Our intention is to help the most common categories of content be found more easily, but we understand that we don't mean to exclude. We understand that I think we've confused some people, but really, like, anything where you're helping someone sort of learn or get information, and sorry, the question's gone, so I've forgotten your name, but is totally welcome. Clarita is totally welcome on Jumprope.
And by the way, I noticed for me, because I put a Jumprope up and it was like blogging tips, and I came to you with that same question. Like, I didn't see a category, but you said I could just create my own.
Yes, and that is absolutely how it works. And I think, again, it is, as we said, Jumprope is always a work in progress, right? We will never finish all of the things that we need to fix about it. And this is definitely one that we're thinking about, is how do we better communicate everyone is welcome while still helping the people in our most interested in our most popular categories easily find their way to that content.
That makes sense. So I've got a couple of questions here. Does uploading to your blog slow your speed?
It depends. As with everything on a blog, the devil is in the details. If you do it right or certain ways, it does not have to, but we know there are a lot of blogs have a whole bunch of plugins, a whole bunch of things running. And so we have definitely seen situations where adding something additional has slowed a blog down. So I don't want to say it won't happen, but I do know we have, many bloggers with, on sort of the AdThrive Mediavine level who are, many hundreds of thousands of page views a month who are using Jumprope. And so I know it does work well if you are using it the right way, but we have definitely seen people have some issues when it has some interaction with some other component on their blog.
Mm-hmm. It is, the devil is in the details. Like, your blog will behave differently than somebody else's, and there is no one size fits all.
Blogging's really hard. You guys are all, it's really hard.
There's a lot. There is a lot that goes into it. Okay, somebody else had a question, which is, how do we disclose affiliate links to Jumprope? I get afraid to put affiliate links because of
that. I got it. I 100% understand this. We are in a week. This will be fixed. I think we've heard this. We have now added, if you add a link to your shop, to your products card, to your Jumprope, at any point, we're going to show the disclosure. If there's for some reason when we do that, you don't think that's the right disclosure, I think we've talked to a lot of creators and tried to get the exact language that we think the community wants. But we're changing that. We understand that was an oversight and we should have built that in from day one. But I think in a week or so across web, Android, iOS, your concern should be allayed.
I love how it's like real time, It's like,
but that's what we're doing. And that's what we're doing is we would never be here. As I sort of told you when we're recording the podcast, we'd never be here if we weren't getting amazing feedback. We can't figure this all out on our own.
Mm-hmm. All right, let's talk best practices. So let's say I'm a food blogger. What are your recommendations for me starting on Jumprope?
You want to take this one, Jesse?
Sure. So The 3 words that we always want people to keep in mind when they're creating are helpful, detailed, and interesting. So helpful is someone going to be able to follow your recipe, your knife skill, whatever it is, and actually learn something from it. That's really what our viewers are looking for. So do you answer their questions around that topic? Detailed, meaning Jake sort of touched upon this earlier. Do you include the complete recipe? The ingredients are there, the measurements are there, so that someone can really follow along and recreate what it is that you're creating. And then the third is interesting. And by that, I don't mean that you have to have like the best shot video or multiple angles or anything like that. It's just, is your jump rope engaging to watch? Does it show your personality or your style? Are you doing something with a twist, something that's a little bit unique? Those things go a long way.
Okay, and we talked about this on the podcast, but by the way, it's been 2 months, a month and a half since we talked. So what is new on Jumprope? I don't know if you can remember back then, but like, what are new things? Kind of like you going, okay, we've got shopping and we've got this. Like, what in real time is happening?
Totally. And so I'll go back to shopping, because that was the big thing we heard from a bunch of different angles from creators late last year, that they wanted a better way to sort of make their jump rope shoppable. And we heard from viewers that they wanted to more easily know exactly what do I need and where to buy it if I want to cook this recipe, complete this craft project, do this beauty tutorial. And so we have several things that are sort of, that are out now. One is you can now tag any product on any step of your jump rope. So the same way you think about tagging a person in the comment or a Facebook post, you can now tag a product in a similar way in any bit of text on jump rope, right? So if you're writing, add the flour, sugar, and baking soda to the bowl, you can sort of have each of those, flour, sugar, baking soda underlined. The user can tap on that. And then if you have sort of an affiliate code or something like that to sell that flour, you can have that buy button in the jump rope, right? So that's one, is easier way to tag products as you're creating the jump rope.
I'm going to click the buy button. Right? Yep. And it's going to send me to the website where?
To whatever, exactly. You can put in you're allowed to put in sort of any website where I can then buy that product, right? That can be Amazon, that can be, right, if you're you have your own line of beauty products and you sell them on your website, your Shopify site, it can be there. It can be to Sephora, it can be to Michael's, wherever you want to send the user, where they can buy the product or download the item, right? So we have creators who are making, tutorials for how to use the mobile Lightroom app, right? They can, they need to download that, right? So here's the button you go to the App Store to download the mobile Lightroom app. So those are kind of the things we're supporting there. And so what that lets people do is go from your content to commerce, right? Which is very what's happening in the world today. And then we also realized, well, if we're going to let you tag the products in your jump rope, we can also easily let you have a shop on jump rope and go from sort of products to content, right? So then you can choose to not have a shop. You can choose to have some products show up in your shop, others not. But then you can say, I want to enable this product in my shop. And so, it may be a DIY creator who has a, type of yarn, for example, that she uses in crochet. And then if that yarn is linked in 5 jump ropes, you'll see in the shop, here's the yarn and here's the 5 jump ropes where this yarn is used in action. And so for people who are exploring your shop, who want to see those products in action, you can now easily link basically to your jump ropes so that person can see those products in action and decide, do I want to make that purchase and buy those products?
So wait, where is my shop? How do I get to my shop?
So to get to your shop, you first have to, you obviously need to add products before you can have a shop. So first you have to add products. You can actually add products.
In my cart.
You can actually add products to your cards, or you can add them directly to the products tab that's new in jump rope, right? So you can add products directly even before you've used them in your jump ropes. And we know that some creators want to do that because it's just easier to sort of batch upload all of your kind of products and your affiliate links at once, and then you have them to reference when you're actually creating your jump rope, right? So you add your products to your product list. On any product, there's a little toggle, and you can toggle on or off whether you want that to show up in your shop. Once you have one product in your shop, you'll then have a shop, and that shop exists linked to your profile from our iOS app, Android app, and it exists on web. So you can share that shop. You can link to that shop from your website. You can share that on your Facebook group, et cetera. It's just it's just basically jumprope.com/shop/your username.
Oh, after we get off, I'm going to go look at, sorry, it's loud. I'm going to go look at my shop because that is, I remember when we were talking and you were saying we're rolling out shopping functionality and things like that. And now it's like, whoa, it's here.
It's here. Yeah.
That's terrific. Okay, so then I've got my profile and there's a link to my shop, but then I also have a tab where I can store my products.
Yes.
And then I can tag my products in the different cards or slides in my jump ropes.
Yeah. We understand it's a lot. Like we introduced a bunch of features. I think what we've heard from creators, it takes a little bit of time to get used to it, but then they're like, wow, this just makes sense. It's super powerful. And we've gotten, it's been live on Android for a week. It's now sort of out on iOS and we're getting amazing feedback.
Now, what about this? I download my jump rope and I upload it to my stories. Is there any way that you recommend, even if it's a hack in text or something, to let people know that there's a shop here? Or, I mean, I get it, it's a movie and I can't be putting links in there, but like, what is your thought about that?
Well, so I think it depends, and it depends on what your goals are, right? I think what we've seen some creators do, who, I guess when you're talking about stories, you're talking Instagram stories. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So if you have, so what we're seeing people do is who have, 10K or more followers and have kind of swipe up, is we've seen them do that creatively, right? Be like, you can swipe up and then swipe up to your jump rope shop. We've also seen people using swipe up as they'll post like a story or two of their jump rope to stories, and then they'll see like swipe up to see the rest. And it's a really intuitive experience because it really just goes from like, stories in Instagram to stories in the jump rope player when you swipe up. So it feels really natural. Mm-hmm. Those are some ideas, Jesse. I don't know if the community has come up with other better ideas. I'm sure they will.
No, that was my suggestion as well. I think whenever you're sharing one of our video downloads and you want to direct people to jump rope for any reason, your shop, or like Jake was saying, to finish watching the jump rope, just including that if in the caption, or in this case for stories, including that as just extra text in your stories. And if you have the swipe up, then yeah, it's a no-brainer. Swipe up right to your shop.
Mm-hmm. And now you've talked a lot. What I like is that you care so much about the creator and about the creator making money. Is it distracting, the sound? Okay.
I'm fine.
Okay, good. That you're all about like creators monetizing. What are other things that you have in the works or you're thinking about to support the creator?
Great question. And I think we understand, I think just to sort of, further emphasize that, I think we understand, as I said a little while ago, that jump rope is only successful if the creators are successful, right? And we know that different creators have different goals, but for a lot of creators, making money is one of their goals. So a few things, right? One big push we've made is trying to help creators sell more products, whether it's their own products, whether they're a direct seller, whether they're an affiliate, for companies, right? Commerce is one sort of tent post of monetization. As we've kind of communicated to creators, we're testing a bunch of things right now with Google with regard to ads. It's still kind of early days. And I think when we can build something ourselves, I can give you a date because I know we can control it. On things where we're partnering with other companies, and increasingly we have some really awesome things in the works where we're partnering with other companies. We are somewhat beholden to kind of their timelines, right? And so I can't give a specific date for when we're going to sort of launch monetizing via ads with Jump Rope, but it is definitely something that is on our roadmap and we're working sort of as quickly as possible on. And then are sort of thinking about exploring other models that I would sort of call direct payments. And again, it could be anything from tipping. We know that, some creators have the sort of buy me a coffee little tip jar on their website. So things that are a little more like that. I think what we're trying to do is listen to creators, listen to viewers, understand what other interesting things platforms are doing, and trying to come up with the best solutions that work for the collective on Jumprope.
I love that. Like, I love that you are creator first, that you see that as your mission, and it's to kind of boost up creators, because as we talk about, it's really hard to grow a business on the internet. Like, it's easy and it's not. And I'm the first one to say it is totally possible, but there are a lot of things you've got to balance. And so I love that it feels different to me than, say, a platform like Instagram. And I think Instagram started differently, and especially in a almost different era.
Definitely different era.
Product and seeing how people used it, but it wasn't like, let's partner with the creator. It's kind of like the creator has to kind of conform to the product.
Yeah, I think that's right. And I think although I think they have done it. Listen, it's hard building a platform. I think knowing them in the early days, they were listening to creators. I think their creator has evolved a lot, right? I think if you think about the early creator on Instagram, it was a bunch of photographers that wanted their photography to be seen, right? And we understand that, and even in the short time that Jumprope's been around, we've seen sort of, the broadening of the tent of creators that we're supporting on Jumprope. And we know that creators have kind of a diverse set of needs. And I think it is hard to serve everyone's needs completely at once. And we try to kind of listen to people's needs and understand, but I also don't want to promise that we can always serve everyone's needs, because that's just not realistic.
Totally. So, okay, what kind of creators are having tremendous success on Jumprope? What verticals?
You want to take this, Jesse?
Sure. So as far as what verticals, our food category is our largest category. So they're definitely seeing a lot of success. But we have a lot of categories following up behind that. So my categories, DIY. I'm the DIY content director at Jumprope. I don't think I said that yet here. So our DIY home and garden categories are doing great. Travel, which Jake has mentioned a couple times during this, beauty and fashion, fitness. Those are sort of, I think that covers our top verticals. But beyond that, like someone had asked about, graphic design earlier, and Jake was mentioning the custom tags. There are some other smaller categories that have some interesting stuff going on. They're just not huge yet. So tech, things like that are up and coming, I'd say.
But this might be your opportunity, if you're in one of these smaller verticals, to jump in. And, always on these platforms, it's a little bit of a land grab in the beginning. So that might be a smart strategy, especially to check out Jumprope.
Definitely. Yeah. Set yourself up for success as an early adopter in some of those categories. And we're still so new that you can come into any of these categories and still set yourself up as like an early success on Jumprope.
Got it. So food blogger, that kind of thing.
Yes.
Yeah, one we're building a bunch of features for right now is actually travel. So we're enabling you to tag a location on any card of your Jumprope. And then we've also realized that there's a set of travel creators who have really, really deep knowledge, but don't have a lot of videography and photography for each of those places. Like for example, like I know my neighborhood really well in New York City, but I don't go around taking photos in every coffee shop and like a photo of every avocado toast I eat. And so we actually realized, again, sort of working with Google on something, that there's a whole library of sort of publicly available rights-free images that you often see if you use the Google Maps app of, food in a restaurant or the ambiance of a restaurant, or pictures people have contributed of a hike or of a location. And so now this is launched on Android. It will be coming to iOS. We let you actually pick from. So if you type in a location, let's say, a barbecue joint in Austin, you can then say, if you have your own photography and videography, by all means use it. But if you're like, oh, I want to recommend this, but I just don't have any photos of it, you can now pick from several photos that we provide you. And so I've made now like travel guides that are, 10 restaurants to go to in, NoHo in New York City, things like that. And you can make them in like 10 minutes, because you are literally grabbing all of the media from Jumprope and you're just kind of sharing your knowledge, but using kind of media that exists already. And so we're looking for, we know there's a set of creators that are not photographers, but have deep knowledge. And we're trying to broaden the tent of creators that we support.
I think that is so crazy smart. When you had mentioned that about like, you were doing a recipe and you need to add the lemon, and then you're like, I don't have a photo of a lemon, I forgot. And then you're like, don't worry, we got you. I thought that was brilliant, but the idea that you've now taken it to this next level, I think that is really impressive. I like the way you're thinking. So if people have feedback for you guys, because you are so open to feedback, how should they do that?
Sure. So, you can always DM us on Instagram at Let's Jumprope. And if you're in the app, you can also just message us right in Jumprope, and you'll get sort of our customer service, which, to be honest, a lot of the time is me. So come talk to me, give feedback, ask me questions. So really, and you can also email us. I'll throw out my email, Jessie@Jumprope, and we spend a lot of time talking to our creators and listening to feedback. So email, DM us on Instagram, or just chat us in the app.
Oh, I think this is so great. So what I want to do, Jake, I want to do a part 2 podcast when you guys feel like you've, in checking in, because it's amazing how in these 6 weeks, this app has really evolved.
Yeah, I mean, it's expected to continue to evolve.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah. I've got to jump in a minute, but is there any last questions for me before I go? But you're in great hands with Jessie.
Yeah, and I've got to go too, because remember, I'm doing crazy.
So if we're all done, then if we're close to done, I'll just stay on through the end then. Yeah.
So I want to thank you guys for coming. Jake, you're my new best friend, as we discussed. Yeah. And when I get to, like, when you're in New York and I'm in New York, or you're in Miami and I'm in Miami, or you're in Austin, we'll get together. And Jessie, I'd love to meet you too. We're in New York. So anybody, again, you know how to reach out to them. They're so open, which I really love. I love the way you think about creating products. And I just want to thank you guys for jumping in here.
Thanks for having us. It's always great to spend time with communities of creators. And we look forward to hearing from everyone, and we're excited. Thank you.
I will put a link, by the way, I didn't do this, to Jake's interview with me, so that you guys can really, dig in, and when we get into more detail in the podcast episode.
Awesome.
So terrific. And we'll be back. So wonderful. Well, thank you, you guys.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. And by the way, everybody who is still here, I am going right now to get my technology set up. I'm going to be on Clubhouse thank you. And so thank you everybody who participated. I think Jumprope is worth checking out. I think it's really interesting, and I just love them at Jumprope. I feel like they are listening, and that is so neat to see them building this product in real time. Please, if you are on Clubhouse, come. Like, today is my day of going from platform. It's funny. I'm on Facebook talking about Clubhouse, and then I'm going to Clubhouse to talk about Clubhouse, but to record first time my Blogger Genius podcast episode. This is crazy. And by the way, I get very my technology. We're going to see if it all works. I think it will. So please, in 18 minutes, come to Clubhouse. In fact, if you will wait 1 second, I have a link that I'm going to put of the Clubhouse so that you can join it. This is all so kind of cool and exciting. Hold on. Let me grab this link. Thank you for your patience as I do it. Okay, here we go. This is the link to the upcoming Clubhouse, and I would love to meet you over there. So I'm talking to Katie Brinkley, and she is a Clubhouse expert, and I really want to, again, see what your questions are. What we're going to do, because I've never done this before, is we're going to record the podcast, and then at the end, I'm going to call people up on stage, and if you're okay being recorded, I'd love you to then ask a question, and that will be part of the podcast. So we'll see how it goes. I'm totally winging it, and hopefully I will see you in about 17 minutes on Clubhouse. All right, take care. Thanks for hanging, and remember, reach out to the jump rope people because I think they're really cool. All right, see you soon. Bye-bye.